Okay, so we are Coastal King Productions, and what we are doing is basically starting up an independent game design and game accessory design company. And that's what Coastal King Productions is. Our biggest product, well, we've got two main products right now, essentially, and one of them is The Last Book, which is an RPG, tabletop RPG, and we've got this guy here, which is called Game Glass. And the two products is a really important thing I try to tell everybody is that the two products aren't inherently connected to each other. They are separate products. In other words, if you want to play the game, you don't need the book. A lot of people think, you know, that's a really high barrier for entry right there to play a, you know, tabletop RPG that costs $900. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, the two things are completely separate. And Coastal King does have a lot of stuff that we have in the works. It's just really our focus, mainly because we love it, is The Last Book. That's what we're really doing now. But as far as the company goes, we basically have formed a company and started doing this game because of philosophies that we have as far as gaming goes. You know, we want the people that enjoy our games and the stuff that we make to feel like they're part of a culture, essentially. A culture that believes that tabletop gaming is very, you know, pretty antiquated nowadays. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't changed in 40, 50 years that just doesn't appeal to a generation of people anymore. Our audience is essentially people that, you know, kind of grew up with video games and are video gamers. I guess shorter attention spans and the need for more violence and action. Right. But that's kind of what we're hoping to achieve by forming the company and by designing our games and everything like that. So we are just to give you guys some, you know, you have The Last Book, which is our role-playing game, but we are going to be working on more games in the future. We have several ideas for card games. We have an idea for like a zombie apocalypse survival type game. That would be more like a board game than an RPG. And we even have, I don't know, does anybody know what QI is? Quite interesting. Yeah, British TV show. We even came up with an idea to possibly do a board game based on that. So,
the war game.
Okay.
Something along the same lines as Warhammer style, where it's more, instead of you playing a character and controlling the one guy, it's more like mixed unit tactics and tanks and such. At least that's going to be my next game.
We'll kind of at the end we'll kind of show off this a little bit and kind of show you like, you know, the different features and what you can do and everything. So we'll come back to that around the end, but probably going to talk about The Last Book here for a minute. So.
All right. So the overview for The Last Book, we wrote this system from the ground up. Obviously, it has some influences from a lot of different systems. You know, we grew up playing Homebrews, Palladium, White Wolf, Warhammer. You know, played a lot of systems, and we felt that there's not something out there that fits exactly our needs. So that's where this project started. Was that we said, would it really be that much trouble to just write our own system? 2 years later, here we are. All right, so for the basic systems, we've got attributes, skills, and combat. Attributes are, in the simplest form, what influences every other stat of your character. You want to go into the appearance?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so just to kind of backtrack just a tiny bit, for anybody, a lot of people in here have actually played the game, but just backtrack a little bit. This is a point buy system, so you basically have a pool of points when you're creating your character, and each of those points is essentially your Legos for your character. Okay, you put it all together with exactly what you want. So the mindset is no longer like D&D, where it's like I have to choose this class, and this class advances in this way, and there's no real way to choose past that. This one's totally customizable. You put everything, you put your character together in exactly the way that you want to. Assuming you don't want to build it, say, Dragon Ball Z. We got asked that question yesterday. Yeah, so the parent-child system, this is actually like the kind of key at what makes this system, our mantra is kind of simplicity through depth, okay? So you have, depth through simplicity. So you have a lot of options, libraries and libraries of options, but at the base of it, it's all parent-child. So attributes are the parent to everything else in the game. Your skills, combat, all sorts of other little things like Conquerors and priests and stuff like that. But all of those things, every single thing in the game goes back to an attribute. You can trace it back to an attribute. And this is a system that's inherent throughout the whole game. So once players understand that you can do everything in this game by tracing it back to an attribute, the system actually becomes really simple to understand. Every formula has an attribute in it. Like I said, so yeah, parent-child is kind of what we focus on here in designing the game, and it's quite easy for players to understand, that lineup once they read it in the manual, and understand that everything can be traced back to an attribute.
A good example of that is all the skills are based off your attributes. So the focus skill is based off IQ. So if you have a higher IQ, you're just better at it innately. So you'll start at a higher amount. Whereas you can also put points into it and make it better. Someone who starts with a 13 is going to be that much far ahead of someone who starts with a 10.
And it's really easy to look at that conceptually and abstractly. Like you look at a skill like search, you're going to imagine that your awareness is going to impact that heavily, and then when you actually read into the book, it does impact it heavily. So it's very intuitive. You can look at something and be like, okay, in order to have that, I need to have a high X.
Rogues need to be agile. We have our combat system is, if I describe it in one word, I would say limits. The game focuses on martial combat. I thought the experience that I had in other games where the archetype of the warrior slugging it out with another warrior felt limited, sort of like a Rock and Soccer Robots. I was just pushing the A and B button and I was doing damage. That was it. With our advanced maneuvers, you can disable, you can taunt, you can knock someone over, you can cut their throat, you can, there's targeted areas, head, neck, vitals, arms, legs, hands, feet, you can use for different things for disabling people. And I've noticed a lot of my players prefer to do that, to cut down an enemy from the top down instead of just killing him outright. There's separate maneuver lists for each weapon type. So daggers have a list of 25, long weapons have a list of 25. And within that, you can pick and choose separate combinations of moves. It's not limited to, I'm a rogue, I'm going to use 2 daggers. You can use a dagger and an axe. And since you're using the dagger advanced maneuver list and an axe maneuver list, you can pick through those and see which ones work together. It's extremely customizable as far as just slugging it out with another warrior. There's a couple, my favorite combos are like Trip is from the miscellaneous section. So if you're advanced trained with any weapon, you gain access to the miscellaneous, and it requires a weapon reach. So like spear, you can trip somebody, and knock them over, and then use the dagger in your other hand to assassinate them. Cut the throat. My next favorite one is another miscellaneous one called Trick, which is a feint, like a fake out sort of, that lowers the enemy's defenses if he fails, and then to use the mace in your other hand to do Titanic Smash, which is a +6 damage to the hammer. So you know you're going to fake him out, he's going to be off balance, why not knock the crap out of him?
Yeah, this is what I was talking about with brutally violent.
Another one of my favorite is the spear and sword combo. So you can, there's short spears. Is guard buffet, which is 2 feints, and then silence, which is a target. And there's ones to disable hands. There's one that there's disarms. There's we tried to include any possible melee maneuver that you could imagine.
And we did actually do a lot of research into, I'm not going to say every single maneuver is realistic, because obviously they're not, but we did a lot of research into like actual fighting styles. So there's a hefty balance in there between realism and cinematics with this combat system for sure. I mean, we even one of our first play tests for the game was with a professional fencer, and he was astonished at how the sword maneuvers kind of mimicked
Matched up
real life.
to his strength.
Yeah, he gave us acting examples. And so at least the most interesting thing to me, because I'm a numbers guy, about the advanced maneuver system is that there are over 250 choices. There's a library of over 250 advanced maneuvers, and with the mastery system, essentially, if you get really good at using a weapon, there's a mastery system for each expertise, and with that, there are about 3,600 different combinations that you can use with your character. As far as
But it's lined up in a way where it's not difficult to grasp. It's vertical and horizontal. And once you understand where you're going, you can say, I want to get really good at this one thing, and then I want to branch out, horizontally a little bit. And it just the chances for expansion are ridiculous.
Yeah, so mundane combat is really cool. I mean, there's probably more mechanics in our mundane combat system than in any other game's total system. So it's a really in-depth and really kind of crunchy system. Let's go to Conquerors where we're running out of Conquerors. Yeah.
Just one note on that though, you can abuse it and make horrible characters that know how to do a little bit of everything. But
Yeah,
don't fail at all.
Multi-classing, as it were, is still possible to the point of giving yourself.
Right.
It's kind of easy enough to
Okay, Conquerors are our baby. They're our favorite thing. The idea is fairly well known of just sort of inspiring war leader. We stepped it up to where they can give, buffs to the allies, penalties to the enemies. They can make themselves better. It fits in any setting. It's European. It's William Wallace. It's Tokugawa. It's any amazing warrior. Yeah, Saladin. Whether they shout themselves to victory.
This is an advancement line, by the way. I don't think we explained that, but this is essentially, just like everything else in the game, something that you can pay points for and get the abilities within.
Yeah. And they're generally there are fighters that are awesome at the front line, and they're making everyone else better. Just being in the party with them makes you better.
Sort of manly guard.
Yeah. They're not playing the flute. They're shouting. And with that, one of the fun things we've done also is with the advancement lines, there's advancement lines to those advancement lines. So if you become a conqueror, you can then branch out, one of which is the standard bearer, which is the flag bearer of the army, and it gives him aura abilities. It allows him to leave the flag places as an inspiring spot while he goes off and does more inspiring things
Yeah,
otherwise.
you can plant your flag to gain like a tactical advantage on the field if placing that is going to, like at a choke point, to give your guys bonuses and the enemy's penalties within that one doorway or whatever. And then you can run off and flank or.
And then we have essentially the inverse of that, which is the Marauder, which instead of inspiring everyone else, terrifies everyone and makes himself better. A good movie example would be Sauron in the beginning of Lord of the Rings, where he's just ripping through everybody. It works off a fear mechanic, so the more you hurt people, the better you get at hurting people.
To hurt more people.
Yeah. And so it's essentially, I like to call it a snowball, because it starts off well and then gets better and better and better, and by the end of the battle it's just annihilating.
Is there the potential, though, that you could have a character that's so terrifying that people will flee from him, in which case he never gets that chance? Like, is that
Not
part of the mechanic?
Not uncontrollably. Like he has an ability to make people run, but they won't. I mean, obviously GM discretion, but there's nothing written in where they'll hit a level of fear where they're like, I'm out.
And usually that fear counter starts at 0 at the beginning of combat.
It's an
so you kind of got to ramp up.
Yeah.
So it's not just two forces meet, oh crap.
No.
They actually have to do at least one strike.
It's fully.
The fear.
You have to show the enemy that you're like disgusting.
It's fully in battle, and once the battle's over, that fear drops because in theory there's nobody left to be afraid of you. And then above that we have the Paragon of this whole thing, which is the champion, which is the radiant fighter on the battlefield with a literal light from heaven shining on him.
Achilles would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the champion is it's still actually kind of abstract at this point. It's even more data than the rest of the game. But the idea behind the champion is that he is like kind of the paragon of his people. Okay, and in that he protects his people. They can take oaths and pledges that give them bonuses just throughout the duration as long as they meet some condition, like permanently. Yeah, they have to, for one of the oaths, for example, they have to protect one of their friends, essentially, and if that person dies, they lose the bonuses and lose 5 HP or something permanently. So they have a lot of, there's a lot of risk reward in
They have a literal investment in keeping the people alive.
Stat.
But in exchange, they get their kind of preferred weapon, I guess you could say, is a shield. So they get a lot of stuff that they can do with shield. They can defend for other people. They can, do sort of things like where they can, somebody's getting attacked and they can just shout real quick and give them a bonus, right then and there if they think that their friends are going to die or something. They can do that. They can charge in the middle of an enemy's turn and block for them. And yeah, they're just crazy. They're the top tier Conqueror.
They're the top tier of the Conqueror.
Yeah, you have to actually get to rank 3 with the Conqueror and then spend 100 points to get that package. Priests. Yeah, I guess we got where we're going. Okay, yeah, priests. So like Conquerors, we also have priests. This one's a little bit different because there's multiple different kinds of priests that you can make. The first, and I guess the one we really know the best because it was the one that was first in the game, is the Templar. And if you think about D&D, the Templar is kind of like the cleric, and there's a little bit of I guess traditional role-playing necromancy added in there too. But they are essentially combat priests. Heavy armor, usually with heavy weapons, shield, etc. And they cast holy magic. So they're probably the biggest healers. Every priest has some little ability to heal, but the Templars are really freaking good at it.
And they have, I think the Templars have more utility than the other priest packages as well, as far as friendly buffs and debuffs and stuff.
Yeah. The Templars are good at increasing resistances and stuff like that. Okay, so then beyond Templars, there are Lotus Eaters. which Lotus Eaters are pretty cool. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head in other games that really compare to Lotus Eaters, but essentially they're like a Hindu kind of enlightened fighter, and they actually do eat lotus flowers, which replenishes their pool that they use to cast prayers. They
eat too many,
yeah,
kids.
that's a little bit of a risk reward too, because you can eat roughly 2 to 3 a day, depending on what your character's stamina is, and any more beyond that, you have to essentially roll to not die and have stroke and die.
From their cultural standpoint, it's how they interact with their god.
Right.
They take them, hallucinate.
Correct. So and then as far as like mechanical crunchy abilities, they throw like soul fire, they can teleport, and is it
Self buffs.
yeah, they have self buffs, and they can heal a little bit. Cleansing for fire type thing. And then the last one that we have in the book are shamans, and you need to completely destroy every notion that you have about like what a traditional shaman is, because these are a little weird. Essentially, in the setting that they're from, they inhabit a place that is where a desert directly meets a jungle, which doesn't happen in real life, but we've created kind of like conceptually what the climate and terrain and stuff in that area would be like. And it's disgusting. It's basically a breeding ground for plague. So that's what shamans kind of work off. They're plague masters. Mechanically, what they do is they have prayers that pulse a cloud of disease around them based on their piety. So piety 1 is 1 hex around them, piety 2 is 2 hexes around them, and so on and so forth. And so they're pretty nasty up close fighters, because they can run in with a humongous weapon or any weapon really, and have this pulsing cloud that forces the enemies to resist or take damage. And they also have, if I remember correctly, they also have ones that help, so they can actually be, standing in the back of the party.
Like second line warriors. They make decent range fighters for that, because they can stand in the back with the rest of the support characters, heal with their pulse, and still be chucking javelins or shooting arrows down range. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the shaman's effects affect everyone. They're not discriminate. Yeah. They affect everyone. So if you have the healing pulse up, just try not to be around the bad guys.
Because it will heal.
Actually, my favorite part of the shaman is they have 3 lines, and one of them is the know line, like knowledge, and it's kind of keeping with it's the last thread of what a real shaman is, whereas they adapt to the natural world, so they have phones that allow them to see in the dark, as opposed to where the Templar would make light. They adjust themselves with the world. They can make themselves resistant or immune to mundane weather. They can get themselves in a state where they don't have to breathe if they need to go underwater. There's a lot. I like it because it's kind of a creepy natural.
Yeah, what about the creepy one where you can eat dead bodies to learn new memories?
Or eat dead bodies.
Wow. That can happen.
No one has problems with that. All right.
There's also the advancement for the 3 priests. Templars have separate lines they can go down, like cleric and Inquisitor.
There's dervish for Lotus Eaters.
And the other mechanic behind Lotus Eaters is that you can master their prayers, like you can master advancement leaders, to where you invest points in the same spell again and again, you get bonuses on top of itself up to 3 times. Do we have a shaman?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but we're done at like 1, right?
Sorry, what?
We're done at 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We'll get their 4-minute Q&A session.
does anybody have any questions?
How the shaman sounds thoroughly enjoyable, not like any shaman I've ever done. How on earth did you come up with this vastly different concept of shaman?
I think
If it's simply, drinking or smoking something, please go ahead and say it. I'm cool with that.
I'm not going to judge you.
what it was, I actually just remembered it. What it was originally they were called the Shamans of Sekhmet, which is an Egyptian goddess of death and disease. And you know, when we started, you know, actually putting this stuff out there, we took anything that could be like related to history or trademark or something out of it. So originally they were actually worshiping a goddess of disease, but now it's just kind of like more, I guess, more vague and ambiguous. They're just worshiping Mother Death, and you know, that's it. So, yeah, I don't know what caused us to apply the name shaman to it really. I think in research I might have found out that maybe ancient Egyptians were called shamans that worshipped her, but I
feel like we could talk more out of him than.
Yeah, I think it spurred out of the game setting in that the region called the Hem, which is where the jungle meets the desert, without having open range there. And we thought about, okay, what kind of weird people live in this region where disease would kill everything, and it would be people that embrace disease.
Yeah, and you know, they were people in the history of that setting. They were people that were exiled over and over and over again. They were exiled as Templars from the Holy City, and then they were exiled from where the Exodus took place to, and they said basically at this point, we're just going to go where no one wants, which is this nasty, plague-ridden, plague land.
I think the shaman parties out the fact that they're surviving the land, so they had to learn, you know.
It's a wonderful, unique concept, very appealing.
Cool, thank you.
Where can you get more information about y'all's group and the game? Is there, you got a website or is it a Facebook page?
Yeah, our website is just www.thelastbook.us, and we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/lastbookrpg. I have little sheets of paper I can give away, guys, but I left them in there.
I'll run get them on the go.
Okay.
Where did you leave them?
There's a sheets of paper, half sheets about that big, and
They're in the RPG room, top left corner.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get them.
How close to a formal release are you? In terms of like where you want it to be for your first.
You know, honestly, I don't know that it'll ever be where we want it to be. I think at some point we're just going to kind of have to throw our hands up and be like, all right, we'll put it out. It's one, you know, like it's.
We'll put it this way.
But there's more versions of D&D, so when you okay, there's more than that. When do you think, you know, 0.1 would be?
This is what, 0.03?
Yeah, this is 0.3. Is where it's currently at right now. When it gets to a state where we're ready for publication, it'll be version 1. I would estimate that would be a year and a half. Yeah. You know, our biggest setback right now is that is artwork, and we don't know any artists. So it's like, yeah, yeah. Now you know I've been talking to you guys so much. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are. I mean, we've got the graphic design in there, and it's beautiful. The graphic designer did a really great job, and so yeah, that's essentially what we're hung up on now.
Those are right. And I'll be artist now.
Yeah.
Friends.
Right now.
Like that's really the best place to do it.
Right. And then, but I mean, this version right now is like fully playable. Like you can go to the website and download a PDF for free. You know,
You can pirate it.
it's free. And then yeah, I mean, so you can check it out. There's even play tests up where you know it gives you little instructions for how to make a character and do combat and questionnaires. All put in there.
And also we're
That's what they also, we're going to be running PvP all day, so.
Yeah.
Come by, man.
True.
And we're reachable through Facebook and through our website, so any questions, we actively respond.
And there's a mailing list. Is it standard D20, Steve Nat? Or
It is.
what's the?
There's
There's D6s for combat ratings, damage, and then,
And it's 2d6 plus rating.
right, plus something.
Okay, so you're trying to remove as many die out of it.
Yeah, there's 2d6 for combat. We do d6s, and then we do a percentage.
For
For skills.
skills and checks, it's a percentage, and you have to roll on 100% die.
How, in terms of board layout, how large are you looking at? Designing? This is massive.
Like a
Not many people on the team left.
Actually, the funny thing is our original is 3 times that size.
And also, we really only use half of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say on a normal like run-of-the-mill combat, you would use probably half board.
And in terms of number of players for standard,
My favorite is 8, but.
can you go smaller than that, or is it?
Yeah, I would say minimum 3.
Minimum 3, 4.
3 or 4.
3 or 4, yeah.
And it's everybody for themselves, or?
That depends. I mean, you can run an RPG setting where you have a party of heroes, going to kill some evil wizard in the tower, or you can play where it's all PvP, like we run arena games every once in a while, where it's like, all right, here's character, kill everything. Sometimes it's team-based, sometimes there's a PvE element, sometimes it's a free-for-all.
So when you do a party heroes, is there kind of a seeding methodology in terms of how to set up, or it's pretty?
Not specifically. I mean, you would use the game class in any way you would use like a vinyl mat.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You draw in the dry erase, it erases right off. You can even like, you can actually switch out these panels if you want to grid.
You can stick like a big printed paper map underneath of the village or whatever if you're going to do combat there, or you can switch out the hex grid, plexiglass, or square grid if you want to switch over to Pathfinder or standard. Triangle grids, are those a thing?
That's the thing is these glass panes are totally customizable. Like as long as you know what the grid looks like that you want, we can get it etched that way.
You can do chessboard, make chessboards.
And these hinges and whatnot also let you take the glass out, and if you want to slip a map underneath it, we've done that. It looks really good.
And the lights still work with that.
Yeah.
And they don't really inhibit you seeing what's underneath. So like there was one fight where we were in a hamlet that was on fire. So I stuck the map of the village up underneath it and switched it over to orange and pulsed it so that it was like that ambient light from the town hall being
Nice.
the lighting really does add a lot to the environmental effects during your play session. And that's my favorite thing. Parties in a glacial cave, switch it over to parties in a sandstorm. Orange.
I think we're out of time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.